Hello, this is the 42nd lecture on Revelation and World History. In the prophetic books and the book of Revelation, an empire appears that invades Israel and its surrounding nations. This empire is called Babylon. And in the book of Revelation, along with the Babylonian Empire, another invading nation appears. That nation is Gog and Magog. Last time, we looked at the description of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38. Gog is the title of the king who rules over the land of Magog. Gog's army is described as consisting solely of cavalry. A nation with a similar structure to this description once appeared in history. It was the Mongol Empire built by Genghis Khan. By examining this history in detail, we should understand the connection between the Babylonian Empire and Gog and Magog. In this lecture, we will explore Gog's army and wars of conquest as they appear in world history. Revelation and World History, Chapter 6, Section 3. Gog's army and the war of conquest. You will come from the northernmost parts of your land, with many peoples, all riding on horses, a great multitude, a mighty army. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 15. The Mongol Empire's army consisted entirely of cavalry. The Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan established the largest empire in human history. They conquered most of the northern hemisphere from the northernmost parts. That is, from the easternmost part of the northern hemisphere to Europe in the west, excluding parts of Europe. Be prepared, you and all the hordes gathered around you. And you shall be their leader. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 7. The person corresponding to you refers to Gog, the leader of the land of Magog. The term he refers to Temujin, who ascended to the throne of the Mongol Empire under the title of Genghis Khan. Temujin conquered the Naimans and Merkits, who were obstacles to the unification of the scattered Mongol tribes. In 1206, his followers held a grand assembly at the foot of the Onon River to celebrate their victory. They raised a white flag with 9 tails and bestowed upon Temujin the title Genghis Khan, placing him on the throne. We referred to Ratsnevsky's Genghis Khan, hero of the Mongolian steppe. After many days, in the last days, you will be commanded to come to the land, to the mountains of Israel, which have long been desolate. The people of the land have escaped the sword, and are gathered from many countries. They have come from foreign lands, and are living in peace. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 8. After ascending to the throne as Great Khan, Genghis Khan devoted himself for a time to internal unity and political stability on the Mongolian steppe. He then launched a war of conquest, attacking the Western Shah, founded by the Tangut people, and the Jin dynasty, founded by the Jurchen people of Manchuria. The Jin dynasty destroyed the northern Song, the northern part of China's Song dynasty, and took over northern China, where numerous Jurchen people migrated and settled in the Central Plains. The Mongol Empire, founded by Genghis Khan and his successors, destroyed the Jin dynasty and established the Yuan dynasty. The Mongol army also destroyed the Principality of Kiev. The region was also under the rule of the Mongol Empire for over 200 years. Russians refer to this period of Mongol rule as the Tatar yoke. We referred to Kim Kyung-mook's Story of Russian History. I will put a hook in your mouth and drag you out. I will bring out with you a great multitude, all in full armor, carrying shields and bucklers, and holding swords. Ezekiel chapter 38 verses 4 to 6. You will go up, you and all your hordes, and the many peoples with you, like a storm, covering the land like a cloud. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 9. This depicts the Mongolian army in full gear. The following is a transcription of Reinhold Neumann Hoditz's description of Mongol cavalry tactics in his book. The swift movements of the cavalry, the precision of the mounted archers, the well-trained common warriors, and the tactics employed by Genghis Khan and his generals. These were the very things that made the Mongols victorious. Every cavalryman carried 1 or 2 bows and many arrows in his quiver. Additionally, they were armed with, depending on their preference, curved swords, iron clubs, hooks used to dislodge enemies from their saddles, and spears with lassos made of horsehair. They wore helmets with neck guards, and armor made of long, blackened leather. In this guise, these wild warriors soared from the underworld to the surface, riding on horses as small but tireless as themselves, and suddenly galloped close. In silence, they advanced their forces across a vast front. After pretending to remain still for a while, they would soon launch an attack, accompanied by a signal from their standard-bearers, and a roar of hellish roar. Genghis Khan's military theory continued. Attacks must surprise the enemy, and disperse their forces as much as possible. Special forces were tasked with ambushing and setting traps, much like hunting wild animals on the steppes. A favorite tactic was a feigned retreat. In such cases, the Mongols would often elude the enemy for days, until their attention was distracted. Then, when the opportunity arose, they would mount new horses and launch an attack. In their feigned retreats, the Mongols often dispersed far enough to bypass the enemy without detection. It was not uncommon for them to conceal themselves by setting fires in the dry steppe. Then, through the flames and smoke, they begin their attack. In any case, these incredibly agile cavalrymen achieved victory by riding their horses and shooting arrows with precision. Of course, Genghis Khan's fundamental principle was never to commit his entire army to a single battle. Therefore, the defeat of one unit does not jeopardize the entire strategy. In areas to be conquered, he further divided his forces into smaller units, each with its own mission, according to the overall plan. When these units moved together, victory was assured. The sandstorms that Genghis Khan's army stirred up as it passed were like those caused by a storm. We refer to Reinhold Neumann Hoditz's Genghis Khan. Their armies passed like clouds, leaving no dynasty in the land they passed through. The phrase, "I will put a hook in your mouth and bring you down," means, God will put a hook in your mouth and bring you down. This is a statement that he cannot refuse and will obey the command, which implies that this prophecy will definitely come true. Coincidentally, the military equipment used by the Mongol army also included these hooks. Let's take a closer look at Ezekiel chapter 38. Thus says the Lord God, on that day, thoughts will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil plan. You will say, I will go up against the cities of the plain. I will go up against a people who live securely, all of them without walls, gates, or bars. I will take plunder and plunder, then you will lift up your hand against the desolate, inhabited lands, against the peoples. Then, you will lift up your hand, against the desolate, inhabited lands, against the peoples, who have gathered from the nations, who have acquired livestock and goods, and who live in the center of the earth. The merchants of Sheba, Dedan, and Tarshish, with their wealth, will say to you, have you come for plunder? Are you going to take silver and gold, to take livestock and goods, and to carry off a great plunder? Ezekiel chapter 38 verses 10 to 13. I will go up against the cities of the plain. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 11. Genghis Khan's army grew right on the Great Plains. The nomads of the grasslands do not build castles, but live in portable tents. moving seasonally in search of pastures for their livestock. The people who inhabit the center of the world, Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 12. You might ask, if the earth is round, where is the center of the world? This is similar to asking, in all countries, the sun rises in the east. Where is the land of the east where the sun rises? However, we learned that the land of the east, where the sun rises, refers to a country like the Korean Peninsula, located on the international dateline, and thus the first country to greet the new day on the calendar. At one point, the British Empire declared itself the land where the sun never sets, positioning itself directly in the center of the international dateline, and thus portraying itself as the center of the world. Thus, the line passing through the center of the meridian circle of the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, was designated as the meridian. So, the other side of the Earth was designated as the international dateline. Therefore, the country located directly next to the international dateline, where the calendar begins earliest, becomes the country where the sun rises. However, the country at the center of the world, mentioned in this text, refers to present-day China. The name of the country, China, was created using the character zhong, which means middle. In other words, the country's name contains the meaning that the country is the center of the world. This China was also trampled by the hooves of the Mongol army, and the Jin dynasty was destroyed. As a result, a new dynasty, the Yuan dynasty, was established under the rule of the Mongols. Since ancient times, the nomads of the grasslands, located in northern China, have been a source of concern for China. They would suddenly invade China on horseback, plunder its treasures, and then quickly flee north. Therefore, the Great Wall of China was built to defend against invasions by these northern nomads. However, even this Great Wall ultimately succumbed to the Mongols' cavalry tactics. Gog will invade and take away silver and gold, Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 13. Coincidentally, the name of China when it was destroyed by the Mongols was none other than Jin dynasty, that is, gold. The Gog and Magog, mentioned in the book of Revelation, are often interpreted as the final northern coalition attacking God's people. In other words, they are defined as the worldwide forces of evil opposing God. We have discovered a comparable entity in world history to the description of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38. That entity was the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan. We will examine the connection between Gog and Magog, or the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan, and the Babylonian Empire, mentioned in the Book of Prophecy within world history. In the next lecture, we will learn about Chapter 6, Section 4, of Revelation and World History, the nation defeated by the army of Gog. It was the Bible History School. If you subscribe and set up notifications, you can continue listening to the lectures on Revelation and world history.